I had not been interested so much in telling the story, and that I did not want to think about the story. But it was after 9/11 that my son said, "Dad, we've got to write your story." And I said, "Well, I've got a story to tell." But on the night of July 30, 1945, we encountered a Jap sub. The ship went down, and there were 1,197 of us aboard. We surmised that maybe 900 of us actually managed to abandon ship when the Navy providentially found us. 4.5 days later, there were only 317 of us still alive to be rescued. So it would be the largest casualty at sea in the history of the U.S. Navy. I'd gotten off a watch at 12 o'clock, and I made my pallet under the barrels of what we call number one turret. The first torpedo hit along about here, and it actually cut the whole bow off. I'm within 25 feet of where the bow was cut off, and the second torpedo behind me, so to speak. I'm in between the two. Saw boys jump off, jump over, and I could see all that oil on the water, and I'm holding on to that cable, pouring my heart out to the Lord, thinking, this is the end of life. This is it. Life is over. Seemingly the Lord spoke to me, not audibly, but I'll never leave you nor forsake you. Peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your hearts be troubled, don't be afraid. I learned those things in Sunday school, and seemingly the Lord was revealing those to me, and I thought, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord. And I climbed over the rail and went into the water, jumped in feet first. And I get out to my first buddies out there, and then after a period of time, daylight comes, and we could tell there's about 80 of us. Well, of course, we had company the first morning. We had sharks. The first morning, maybe someone that had been injured, and he has a temperature now, and he begins to hallucinate. And all of a sudden he thinks that he sees an oasis over there. And here he gets out of the group, and here he's going to whatever he thinks he sees. And then all of a sudden you hear a blood-curdling scream, and you see that kapok go under. And then like a fish cork, it brings that body back to the surface. But then you see many, many fins of the sharks around that blood. And of course, you dare not go to try to find out who your buddy might have been because of the danger. It was the second day that my buddy Spooner wanted to give up, gone into the water head first, and had all that oil in his eyes. And now, how do you get that out? You don't. I turned his back to mine and fastened his kapok to mine, and we swam together through that rest of that second day. You're so thirsty, and dare not to drink the salt water, but you see your buddies, maybe every little bit someone dares to test the water. Well, within the hour you can tell what's happening. Now their body is already dehydrated, and now they have injected themselves with salt water, and that begins to affect their mind, and it isn't long, and they can imagine all kinds of things. I had one that swam up to me, "Hey, Marine, see that island over there? I just came from over there. They're having a picnic. They want you to come over." Well, I knew better, but it was nearly convincing. You wanted to believe him, and I didn't join him, but I saw him swim away, and he gets out 75 yards, and you hear that blood-curdling scream. Now, that's going to happen many, many times that second day. 110-degree weather, and you're swimming, and you're struggling, and you're desperate for water. You see a little rain cloud coming. Well, how much water can you catch in your big mouth out in a little rain shower? You take those greasy hands and you kind of cup that water, and you get some fresh water, maybe just a few tablespoons full, but that's all the water that I had for 4.5 days. There was only 17 of us by noon the third day, and we wondered if we're really going to make it. The fourth day, now we see planes flying over, or the vapor at 30,000 feet, but no one's looking for us. And then all of a sudden, I hear a plane, I hear a plane, I hear a plane. And I can see him today as he circles us. The possibility, though, of Gwen seeing us, impossible for him to see us. In fact, Gwen told me one day, he said, Harold, it would be the equivalent of taking a human hair and look at the cross-section of a human hair across the room. He said, impossible. But in the providence of God, he saw us. He saw us. Now, I'm telling the story some, but with a little bit of apprehension, there's too many memories there. But I found out that after I began to get it kind of off my chest, now I'm relieved somewhat of the story, and it becomes more of something that happened that's not affecting me so much today. When I think about my story, then I think about the fact that it wasn't the fact that I was a Marine or a good swimmer, but the providence of God was watching over me. And then as I began to tell the story, then I saw that people were interested in hearing the story, and if they are interested in hearing the story, then I want them to know something of the providence of God.